all right, John wanted me to film this because he was telling me about this last night, and I was half awake, and I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?" And he was talking about art. Him and Yoko putting art installations together, and like things like along the way the Yoko and John stuff, like half-eaten apples and half chairs, and all these kind of big white rooms filled with like clear lucite buckets of water, and they had a water show where everybody, which ended up being kind of a disaster because all the water started leaking everywhere and everything was getting damaged, and John was losing his fucking lunch, and he was screaming at Yoko, and it was about a mess. May Pang was their assistant at the time. She witnessed this whole thing. She had to. Yeah, she did. And I was going absolutely nuts on everybody, just screaming that you're a bunch of idiots wasting my money. What the fuck are you doing? And right. So this is like, but this was up in Syracuse. They were doing all these things. John was lobbying for the following installation that never got made. I wanted to take a giant crap, right? And then put it in a lucite box. Okay. And then I wanted to do several of them because I wanted to say what and the name of the of the installation would be exactly what is art. Okay. And he's telling me this last night, like I'm like just talking about it while I'm falling asleep, and I'm like, what? What did you do? Did you do that? And I did it. I did a prototype to show to Yoko, and she loved it. She loved it. And then she came up with the idea, well, we should both take craps, right? With all these different size lucite boxes and different size craps. How many were you gonna? We're gonna have like 24 of them, and then some of them we were gonna decorate with sparkles, and others we were gonna put like little cigarettes in it, right? Like it's smoking, right?
Like Mr. Hanky.
I tell you, it was better than Mr. Hanky. This thing was great, and you couldn't know you. Well, I tell you, the smell, that was a problem.
That was
Because
my first
even
question.
with the lucite box,
Yeah, right.
because that was my idea, the lucite will keep the smell in. It really didn't. There is nothing you can do with the smell of shit, my friends, except really get rid of that shit, because a lucite box is not going to do it. We tried all kinds of airtight
That was
things.
my first thought. My very first thought.
Because I'll tell you, they weren't saying no to the actual concept. They were open to anything John and Yoko did. They were very much on board with us as far as putting this thing together. But when we brought the prototype, and I says to Yoko, I smell it. Do you smell it? And she was like, I do. Unfortunately, I do. And we were like, what are we going to do? Maybe we put so much into this. When I show, and he's showing me the decorations like Christmas poo, like Christmas, like Mr. Hanky, exactly.
And they were working on that, like.
We put it
Oh, it's so happy.
we put it
Oh,
together.
that's gross.
Oh, well, we had rubber gloves on, right? And we were putting it together like we didn't ask assistants to do that for us, right?
Wasn't it stinking to high heaven right then?
It absolutely was, but we figured that it was hilarious because we were like, "Oh, this is one stinking fucking job, I tell you." And so I was hysterical laughing that when he was telling me this last night, just the way he was explaining it, not the concept itself, because it kind of is an intriguing concept. Like, would people be sick to their stomach looking at this, but why? Because this comes out of everyone's body. So, and everyone knows, go ahead, John, everybody knows that when they take a crap in the toilet, they turn around and look at it, right? Unless you're a real problem case and you absolutely cannot look at your own crap. But I can unequivocally say that 99.99999% of the time I have looked at my own crap, right? And so I was like, well, so what's wrong with looking at other crap? And what's wrong with decorating the crap and making it kind of look good? But that's the thing. You can dress it up, but you cannot disguise that odor. Right. Amazing. So eventually, we had to terminate the idea. And you know what? The gallery almost seemed like they would somehow put up with it, get like deodorizers or stuff for that particular part of the room of the place. But we couldn't do that to people. We did not. We just did not feel comfortable having people smelling our shit. They could look at it if they want to look at it. That's one thing. But we were like, you know what? We're not going to do this to people. Isn't that amazing story, Chris? And we put it together. It looks so nice. And you never talked about it. No, never talked about it till now. That's very funny. I love you. I love you too. I really want to eat lunch. Listening to some Mozart today. And this morning I was just crying and crying because there's the one overture that is so just brings back. I remember John as Mozart and me as his cousin Anna Maria or Mariana, and he called me both. He called me both. So I don't know which one it is. He even wrote me a poem, Anna Maria Mariana. We'll print it later. And no one has ever seen it. And he used to send me all his work before he would show it to the public. And of course, there wasn't one thing that he composed that wasn't phenomenal. But there's this one piece that's just... Get it. All right. This is the piece. And I just lost it, And I cannot listen to that ever without just like... Baron. Mr. Hank is here. My ex-father-in-law. I just remember him always sitting in his shop, humming along to everything like this. It was very peaceful in his little backyard shop where he did an engraving business, and he sat with his dogs by his side. Wolfie was one of them. I found Wolfie in the park in the freezing cold. I brought him home. I called him Good Boy, but he named him Wolfie. After Mozart. That was such a beautiful dog. He looked like a wolf, he did. That's my Wolfie. Yes, I have to get a Wolfie. Where will I find a Wolfie? Wolfie looked like no other dog. Maybe a little like Herman. Yeah, he did look a little like Herman. Shorter hair, though. Yeah. And his face had more tan in it. Herman has more black in his face. Wolfie was beautiful, though, and he was big, and he was strong. He had those long legs. He had those long Herman legs. And Mr. Hank had another dog named Showtime. He was a rescue from a kennel. He was a full-breed German Shepherd, and he was lovely also. But he was so inbred that his back legs completely collapsed on themselves when he was less than 5 years old, and they were going to destroy him. So this poor crippled dog They took him in. There really wasn't an animal they didn't take in, you know. Everyone was welcome there. They took me in. I'm sorry for all the nasty things I've said about them. I did feel betrayed by them and hurt by them. But I'll never forget their kindness to me and to other people and animals alike. They were an exceptional family. An exceptional family. I left because I had to. It was not working out with Stephen. I had to go. But to the Rookheims out there, I want you to know that I loved you all. I loved everything about that crazy house. You guys were wonderful, and I loved you all. You were interesting. You were cultured. You were not really Nazis, not really. You made inappropriate comments, and everyone does it. But I know you never would have killed anyone or condoned anyone getting killed. And I loved the old man, Pop, so much. And he was the backbone of that operation. And if he was the backbone of that operation, he hated Nazis and he embraced everything good in the world. So how bad could that family be if Pop Rookheim was the head of that operation? Not so bad. I took all the petty unkindness of the sister and the mother and sometimes the rest of them. And I really personalized it very deeply because I trusted them so much, and then when they were unkind to me, I didn't stop to think about it. I just felt like it was another betrayal. But I know all kinds of reasons are behind it. And people are human. And they have faults, and so do I. Lena. Yes. Yes, John. Good work. Do you have something more you'd like to say? No, not really. This was the music that was the soundtrack of that time for me. This and all the great rock and roll that I was allowed to blast all day and all night with my boyfriend Steve, and out by the pool, wild parties till 5 a.m, and nobody ever said anything. If anything, his mom would come out and fucking pull up a chair and be like, "What's up?" And it was the most natural thing in the world to smoke a joint with her, and she was the same age as my biological mother, but they were worlds apart. And, my biological parents made my friends welcome also, but there was always like this, there was at the Rookheims there were no boundaries. It seemed like anything goes. And with my biological parents, I don't know. I didn't really. When I was younger, I brought a couple of friends around, but not really. It couldn't be compared to the Rookheims. I guess it was the pool, too. The pool was a giant thing. Yeah, for sure. The summer times where it was crazy. The Rookheims was the place to be if you were in the neighborhood and you were hanging out. You were welcome, and you just stop by, man. That's all there is to it. And you don't got to bring a damn thing. We got beers. We were both working good jobs. We fucking turned everybody on. We got beers, we got booze, we got pot, and we got burgers. And we got it all. Chicken, ribs, corn on the cob, every fucking weekend. For years. So it really was a good time. It was a really good time. La 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 la. And then sometimes Steve would be so funny. This music would be blasting in the shop. His father would be and then we'd be rocking out, but you'd hear in the background, just a few yards away, the father in the shop with the fucking this music blasting. So it was kind of a really crazy house, and it was the vibe was very high always. And Stephen would be walking through the backyard, and he'd hear this, and he'd start yelling la 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 la, and his father, shut up, you idiot, And it was very funny. They're all good natured. It was really a trip, and everybody would be laughing. Everybody. It was really fun. I guess you take for granted what's fun, Someone's calling me. I can't imagine who.